Guys, welcome to today's video where I want to help you get the most off-road traction, stability, and articulation on your Toyota or Lexus independent front suspension rig. Now, I don't want this video to only be for you technically inclined folks, so I'll make it real simple. I don't want you experiencing super scary wheel lifts like these ones while you're on really steep terrain, which can lead to rollovers. And I want to show you how to best combat this issue for free. Look at how stiff my rig looks when going up this obstacle, for example. You can almost draw a straight line between the two front wheel hub centers. There's a reason for this, and I'm going to talk to you about that in this video and show you how to solve it. Again, this will cost you $0, and it'll only take about 15 minutes to a half hour to do. So let me explain the goal of what we're doing here. I'm going to draw some circles around the hub centers. The one closest to us is pretty close, and then the other one I'm kind of estimating where it might be. And I'm going to draw a straight line between those two hub centers. And as you can see, it forms a really shallow angle. We have a very low articulation front end here. There's a very good reason for that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. The goal of what we're going to do today is to drop this wheel down closer to the dirt where it actually has traction. And then we want to shove this wheel up further into the body, which also helps drop the other side wheel down to the dirt as well. If we connect these two hypothetical hub centers, what you notice about the angle is that it's much steeper. This is a high articulation angle, and while this may not be exactly realistic, this is more of a solid front axle type articulation angle, it's possible to get more flex out of your front end. This brings me to the main point of this video, which is the role of anti-sway bars, or stabilizer bars, also referred to as sway bars for short. Vehicle manufacturers put a sway bar on the front and rear suspension assemblies to ensure that the vehicle stays flat when taking turns on the road. It does this by connecting both sides of the suspension via a torsion bar, so that when the body rolls while taking a turn, putting pressure on the outside suspension, the sway bar puts an opposing load to the inside suspension, which keeps the body flat and prevents excessive lean, which can lead to high-speed rollovers. This ensures the safest handling for high-speed on-road situations. The problem is, however, when you get off-road, where sway bars can have almost the opposite effect and can lead to big wheel lifts and excessive lean angles on rutted or rocky trails. So in this video, we're talking about the benefits of potentially removing the sway bar from the equation entirely, sacrificing that on-road performance for off-road performance. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that when I was upgrading to heavy-duty rear springs, I noticed that my rear sway bar had broken. So from then on, I have been running no rear sway bar with a front sway bar in place, which after watching Tinker's Adventures video, which you could check out here, I realized was the worst possible combination, and I'm going to show you why here. So as you can see at the rear axle, I have plenty of articulation. Not only is it solid axle, but there is no sway bar kind of binding up the suspension and preventing it from articulating fully. While that may seem beneficial on the surface, if you leave the rear sway bar in place or upgrade to an even stiffer rear sway bar, it can have the effect of forcing the front suspension to work to your advantage. As you can see, I'm drawing a line from the left rear to the front right. And what happens is if you stiffen up the rear sway bar, it can help shove this wheel up into the body, which, as I was talking about before, will increase our articulation at the front end. Now, if we remove the front sway bar, we'll also have the added benefit of having this wheel drop further down while the other wheel is being compressed. Therefore, the ideal combination for off-road articulation is to remove the front sway bar and leave the rear sway bar in place, or even upgrade the rear sway bar to a stiffer unit. As of right now, I have both sway bars removed and I have a stiffer rear sway bar on order to help improve my articulation further. And let me tell you, the benefits are already massive, but don't take my word for it. I'm going to prove it to you with some clips I have from a trip me and my buddy Johnny Taco Outdoors took right before I removed the front sway bar. Then I'm going to show you some after clips with the sway bars removed. And here is the first clip. As you can see, the rear is articulating fine, but the front left refuses to tuck into the body, and the front right wheel refuses to droop down onto the dirt until the full weight of the vehicle is put on it. This makes it really hard to climb, especially if you don't have lockers like I do. Take a look at this clip in its entirety. Look at how the rear can articulate fine, but that the front end just has no flex at all.
Tires up on there so you're not tippy.
No, I want to challenge it. Yeah, to the passenger. I actually know.
Dude, you're so sideways, bro.
Oh! That's a little too much. Passenger, you think?
You were scaring me, bro. You want me to pull on the front?
Driver?
Want me to pull on the front?
Nah. What about turning driver? Is that good?
Yeah. Actually,
Front's locked. What should I do, bro?
go forward a little bit.
I'm gonna back up a bit.
Come on. There you go. Straight now. Straight. Straight. There you go, buddy.
So let's just back up to right here. As you can see, the fact that the rear articulates fine has no bearing on whether this scary wheel lift occurs. It's all having to do with the balance between the front and the rear. By nature, independent suspension has less articulation potential than solid axle type suspension. Therefore, you can improve this balance by increasing articulation at the front end. And to do that, you can remove the front sway bar, which I'm going to show you how to do here. To start out, remove any skid plates that may be in the way. For me, I have my RCI skids, and this is what your front sway bar looks like when it's installed. As you can see, it connects the left side suspension with the right side suspension. This is how loads can be transferred back and forth. So we're just gonna take a good look around here to make sure you know what you're gonna be seeing here. And of course, our frame mount brackets need to be removed. I have icon spacers there to help keep the front sway bar from hitting the springs, which was a problem. But those won't be needed anymore. Then we just have to remove our end links as well. And this is repeated on both sides. So go ahead and just remove this. I believe it's a 19mm nut. Hammer out the end link like this from both uprights or knuckles. So just remove the nut and hammer the end link out. And then you're going to remove the two frame mount bolts, which I believe up front are 13mm, but don't quote me on that. So just remove those front frame mount bolts. And then you'll see here the assembly drops down. Now you just need to remove the front sway bar, and you now have way more off-road articulation potential on your rig. Now, you just need to reinstall your skid plates and go out for an off-road test. So I thought I'd start out with this clip. There's about a 3 or so foot difference between this upper shelf on the right and the lower ground area on the left. So that kind of gives you some context of what we're talking about here. Now, as you can see, I drew a little diagram, and the flex is way better. As you can see, the front right wheel is just getting stuffed up into the fender, which is exactly what we want. And we have full droop on the left side, which is on the lower end. And I can prove to you that it's at full droop because you can see I don't have traction right here. The wheel's up in the air spinning. Now let's go over to Pilot Rock Truck Trail here, where I have a great series of clips to show you just how much the articulation has improved. And you can see that the vehicle is much more flat than it was in the other clip I showed you, where it was doing a giant wheel lift. And as you watch the front end, look at that driver's side front just getting stuffed up in there, and the passenger side drooping all the way down to the maximum level. That is exactly what we want, and it's so confidence inspiring when you're off-road and you're not totally leaning over. If I had my front sway bar right here, I definitely would have rolled. I mean, the difference between having a front sway bar and not having one is insane. And it gave me the confidence to even try stuff like this, trying to get my driver's side wheel up way onto this berm. And here is another great example of articulation working my favor. Look at how flat the driver's side control arm is and how angled the passenger side is. That just helps keep the body flat, keeps me from peeing my pants in being scared of rolling over. and just makes off-roading a lot more fun and a lot less scary. Here's another example of where I believe I would definitely be lifting that driver's side wheel if I didn't have the front sway bar removed. And I really like this clip as well because it not only shows the massive improvement in articulation that I've gotten by removing the front sway bar, but also the massive benefit of having a front locker. This is probably one of the few scenarios that I actually got the locker for. So as you can see, I'm kind of slipping into this notch, and in order to get out of it,
You're gonna get down in the ditch.
I needed to use the power of the front locker. As you can see, both front wheels are spinning the exact same speed, and I have that increased articulation to keep me from backing out of it. I feel like I have the confidence to keep moving forward even though the wheel lift is occurring. It's not as extreme as it would have been otherwise. This is another one I wanted to take a second look at, and it just shows how the driver's side wheel and tires just being stuffed into the body while the passenger side reaches all the way down to the dirt to get traction. As always, the camera does no justice to just how steep this hill is, but you can see the benefits of having that increased articulation here. Without it, it would be an extremely unstable situation. And take a look at the front driver tire. It is fully stuffed, which is not possible with the sway bar in place.
It's really bad. You're gonna hit.
And here's just more examples of steep, muddy terrain where keeping the body flat using articulation is critical. So guys, let me know what you thought of today's video. I can't wait to test out whether adding that stiffer rear sway bar improves articulation even further than running no sway bars like I am now. Subscribe to the channel to see the results of that one and a bunch of other content. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. We'll see you in the next one.